Hey nerds, welcome back to White Day. We're gonna continue on after we just finished the puzzle with the plant. The legend of the 20 hidden ghost stories are passed down by the Oculate Club. 20 hidden ghost stories. Oh yeah! We need to go through and see what we have. Okay. So, last episode I said I was going to go over the notes, and I did not. So, in the description below, I'll put where to skip in case you guys don't want to hear the notes. Okay. Class materials. The Oriental Studies Interesting Theory of the Five-Element Teacher. Vice Principal Sangmoon Lee. Let's learn about the five elements, the foundation of the Oriental Studies. The five elements are often only thought of as a part of the Eastern philosophy. This is what the importance of the five elements have been lost in the modern world today. The five elements represent the changes of the properties of everything in this universe. They are expressed in these five symbols: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. The five elements describe the changes in the nature of the universe and can be expressed as birth, growth, collection, union, and change. The first element, wood, represents birth. Fire represents the growth. Metal represents the collection. Water represents a stage of union. Finally, earth represents the soil upon which the previous four elements progress, symbolizing the stage of change. Purchase request slip. Requested to the main office, submitted by Hiking Club. The request is to insect repellent spray. Reason: to prevent damage caused by insects while participating in outdoor activities. Warning: keep away from heat, open flames at contexts of extremely flammable. Biology class notes. Spider. Arthropods. The arachnids. What? They weren't bugs? Eight-legged, ew. 6 to 8 eyes. Body parts are head, chest, and stomach. What's the difference? There's a wandering kind of settling kind. They can't chew. They dissolve their prey with stomach fluid. Gross. Its thin bones and squishy body makes it hard to make preserved specimen. Then how'd they make the one in the biology lab? Next week's assignment is measuring a spider's weight using the specimen. The teacher promised to tell scary stories if the class ended early next week. I'm excited. The summer issue. The secret of the storage room. Our school is pretty good managing lost belongings. The school rule is that unless an owner is found, lost items will be kept indefinitely. This better not scare me. They are sorted by the dates they were found and grouped into boxes accordingly. The items that have been unclaimed for long periods of times are stored separately. Oddly enough, there are some expensive and rare things that can be found here. The items in the storeroom can be used as anyone. Now, let's talk about the secret of this storage room. The room gives off a cold and creepy feel, like in a haunted house. Some say it's because it's where all the unwanted items are stored, but others speculate it's because of the items left by people who've killed themselves. Let's take a look at the following story. C. Found a cushion that she really liked. She was worried that the cushion would be claimed before it was thrown in the forever lost box. In the end, the cushion made its way to her, but she lost it shortly after, and the cushion was returned to the storage room by someone else. C went to the lost and found and took the cushion back, but somehow the cushion found its way back to the storage room. This went on for a while before she finally gave up. A former graduate recalls a time when he was shocked when entering the storage room. A music box he had seen in the storage room while he was attending the school 10 years ago was still there, in the exact same condition as it was back then. Perhaps there really are items possessed by ghosts in that room. Another mystery is the fact that the quantity of the lost items seem to be maintained at a certain level at all times. Fall issue. Is fall the season for suicide? According to statistics, people with specialized jobs commit more suicides than average people. Gender-wise, more women tend to commit suicide than men, and more adolescents. Those in their 20s and 30s, and the elderly are subject to suicide. Statistics also show the suicide rates peak during spring and fall. Just with these facts, it can be argued that rather than being rational, the motives of suicide are often emotional ones. In most cultures, suicide is treated as a crime or escaping from reality. In a religious standpoint, it is considered a sin. Suicide is one of the choices that God has granted humans, but it also has the greatest punishment. Researchers today say the broken identity, anxiety, and stages of hopelessness lead to suicide, especially for teenagers. It's most commonly caused by mental stressors. Mental stress can cause serious damage to people who do not possess a full development sense of self. In such case, it's crucial for the people around the at-risk to show continuing support and interest. A person ready to commit suicide feels that they are at a crossroad. They choose death when they decide that life is meaningless. Let us not forget that we do not need some grand reason to continue on with our lives. Life is meaningful enough as being an opportunity to grow and better yourself. The support from loved ones can greatly reduce this chance of suicide. Life can be meaningful even in a simple breath. Voice that beckons me. A and B were very close classmates. A always took care of B, who was very fragile. B, that was always thankful to A for that. Without A, B knew it would be impossible to have a normal school life. To B, A was the most important person in the world. Then one day, there was an accident at the school. There was a fire in the old school building, and unfortunately, B was inside. B could not escape and died of the fire. A was deeply saddened by B's death. She could almost hear B screaming out A's name. Begging to be saved, in the imagination of A, the desperate voices calling for help from B slowly filled the resentment. A felt very sad and thought that B's death was her fault. After that, A did not set outside of her room. A's mind was full of thoughts about B, even while asleep. B would appear in the dream of A, representing A for not being there to save B. Being awake was no different. The voice of B was always followed A. A knew it must be an auditory hallucination created by her sadness and guilt, but A was in agony nonetheless. A began to lose weight day by day, suffering from pain and guilt. Then one night, A quietly snuck out of her home to visit the school. A passed the bench in the school field where they sat and chattered with each other and arrived at the spot where B died. A heard the resentful voice of B even there. A thought it was time to end her agony, to escape the sadness and guilt of losing a friend she loved. A chose suicide. A thought that going to where B was now would be the only way to escape from the haunting voice of B. A chose to hang herself, so this might be her sister. The pain was so great that A couldn't breathe, until her sight slowly faded away. As if coming to greet A, the face of B appeared faintly in front of her. The face of B, glowing with hazy blue light, was smiling brightly. B's face came closer and whispered, "Thank you. I needed to die so I can live again." A struggled to breathe. To save herself from her fate, the voice that just whispered was the voice of B, the same voice that had been following A since B died. A wasn't hearing things. The voice was real. Huh. Interesting. So... What the frick? He's been in there the whole time?! What's happening? Is that Ghostface following me? I don't see any other reason to be here. It is rumored that there is a maze in the basement of the school. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot all about those keys. But I don't think we can really get them right now anyway, so hello. Investigation report. Title: The Mental Health of Students, the Anxiety of Students and Their Infectious Copying Methods. Written by Tae Gwan Lim. School Administration Management and Korean Language Teacher. Many of our students suffer from the considerable anxiety about their future. This is quite the natural considering their state of adolescence. However, some students are using odd methods in an attempt to cope with their anxiety issues. These odd coping methods are spreading across the school like wildfire. In a way, this brings light to the fact that students today lack responsibility and sense of identity. The real problem, however, is that some of these odd copying methods are taken as more than just a joke. They are turning into a fanatic religion. Excuse me. Students who have yet to form a solid sense of identity are easily lured into joining these fanatic sects. One of the main coping methods the students are using to act as the calling of the dead. Using a Ouija board, students attempt to call upon the dead to quell the uncertainties they face by asking ghost questions or even predict the future. At a glance, it could be dismissed as an immature act of self-reassurance that they can safely ignore. However, that is not the case. When such an act are committed repeatedly, the students will often eventually lose grasp on the reality, and in some extreme cases, the students exhibits a full-on psychological breakdown. This matter must be resolved from the safety of a school and the heavy supervision of an advised until a... Huh. Okay. Interesting. That's to... Oh! A baby? 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 Okay. Bye. Is that the girl? Who is that? Class materials. Interesting theory of 5 elements. Vice Principal Sang-Woon Lee. The theory of 5 elements is made up of a cycle of harmony and aversion. Harmony being the energy aiding another energy to flow better, and it is forward movement in the cycle. In contrast, aversion is when the energy is going against another energy to block its flow, and it's backward movement in the cycle. The flow of aversion is as follows. Metal, wood. Metal can cut through wood. Wood, earth. Wood takes nutrients from earth. Earth to water. Earth can block water from flowing. Water, fire. Water extinguishes fire. Fire, metal. As fire melts metal, then the cycle repeats. Jeff, yo, can't melt steel beams. The flow of the harmony is as follows. Fire and metal. Fire returns to the earth after being exhausted. Earth and metal. Metal is extracted from the earth. Metal and water. Metal becomes the source of water. Water and food. Water raises food. Wood and fire. As wood burns to create fire, and the cycle resumes from the first. In the cycle of harmony, there is a hidden principle that all wrongs will be righted. This can be said to a true reflection of Deaf Eastern philosophy. Okay. Oh, a lot of documents today. Faculty notice. Attention. All teachers working night shifts. The passcode to the principal's office has been changed due to a recent leak of previous passcodes. The passcode is on the chalkboard in the student department office, written with a piece of special chalk that is invisible under fluorescent light. The principal does not approve of others entering his office while he's away. Please use passcode only. In cases of emergency or special circumstances, vice principal. Okay, so we had to find fluorescent light pen. Okay. Pen something later, I suppose. Truth Finder. Let's learn about Morse code. Morse code is a communication code invented by the development of Samuel Finley Breeze Morris that can compose and send sentences short and long signals. It is considered the most basic emergency communication device due to the fact you can communicate using very simple signals. As Morse code is composed of short and long signals, you do not need a special device to communicate as long as you express it. For example, you may send a message by controlling the speed at which you blink or tap your fingers. For the characteristics, it appears often to books and movies where the main character is in danger, using it to secretly send messages without being found by the enemy. The original Morse code requires that you pause about 3 short signals between sending of a text. But depending on the situation, it's possible to send signals continuously. In such cases, you want to analyze its sections broken up by using the same number as signals. For example, if it's a number, every 5 signals indicates a number. So for 4-digit numbers, it would be 5 times 4 equals 20. Thus, you would analyze 20 signals in 5 sections. If I have to do anything with Morse code here, we are fucked. Lost and found room key. Student department office keys. Caffeine in teenagers. Coffee is the most popular beverage containing caffeine. Moderate consumption of caffeine can stimulate the central nervous system, boosting work performance and reducing fatigue. On average, consuming no more than 400 milligrams is recommended to enjoy healthy benefits. A cup of coffee contains approximately 100 milligrams of caffeine. Regularly, consumption of caffeinated products such as coffee can lead to caffeine addiction and eventually cause withdrawal symptoms. Common withdrawal symptoms include fatigue, nausea, vomiting, hypotension, and headaches. However, the harmful properties of caffeine itself are not worrisome. It is the caffeine is consumed in excessive, then it becomes a health hazard. Overconsumption of caffeine leads to an onset harmful symptoms, and the continuous consumption can lead to death. For adults, the lethal dosage of caffeine is 150 milligrams, or about 5 to 200 cups of coffee. The lethal dose is much lower of a children and teenager. Caffeine is also known to cause birth defects. Like alcohol and nicotine, caffeine is a drug that has addictive properties, but unlike the others, it does not have an age restriction. Therefore, it is important to better understand the properties of caffeine and moderate its consumptions. Well, is something going to happen if I... Can I do anything with this? Not yet. Event announcement for the Occult Club. With the start of a new term, we have prepared an event for everyone. We will give out a small prize for anyone who can solve this quiz and bring the hidden treasure to our club. Okay, here we go. The treasure is sleeping under a place covered of dust and erased knowledge, and it can only be woken by the hand of a hand shakes every day. The hidden treasure is a clue to one of the latest ghost stories of the schools that's quickly gaining fame. Whoever finds it first can have it. No one has been able to collect the full series so far, and therefore it's high commodity collectible among students. It's a great opportunity to get both the clue for the latest ghost story and the handsome prize. We hope that all of you participate. P.S. If by chance you collect all the clues to the ghost stories through this event, please contact the president. Okay, so what was the... I don't know if this has anything to pertain to us, but maybe it might. Where was... Okay, the hidden treasure... Oh. The treasure is sleeping under a place covered by dust of erased knowledge, and it can be woken by the hand of that hand shakes every day. I believe it's talking about a library? Okay, so that's the next area. A treasure hunt. I found out a new secret about this music teacher's hidden treasure. One of the paintings in the main building is said to have a key inside that unlocks the room. I'm so close to winning the treasure hunt that I can almost taste it. Okay, so we need to remember that. The eye test, okay. So we need the lenses for them. Oh. Was that his mom? Oh, 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 oh! Oh, the heck? Can't take it. To Ji Won Kim. Please forgive me for not saying goodbye in person. I'm being forced to leave, all because of a sick rumor. Should you hear the rumor about me, please do not pay attention to it. It's a story made up by people plotting against me. Once I leave, I'm sure you'll be bored because there will be no one left to entertain your ridiculous theories and ideas. For me, I'll be sad because there will be no one to understand my world of art. To ease my sadness for saying goodbye, I leave you a farewell gift. It's my painting of you holding your first art piece. I think you said you created a piece to hide something important, right? Anyways, I wish you good health and good luck to fortune. Okay, so we need to find... Can I not just, like, take it? We need to find the piece. Oh! Oh! Why are you here? of a bitch! Find my body for me. The weather was so hot that it made it hard to breathe, and the cicadas would not stop chirping. The foreman in the charge of the construction to connect to the new building to the old found everything irritating. Is his opinion? It was a pointless project, but he wasn't going to complain since it was paid work. Sorry if I'm reading this a little messed up. My heart's a little jumpy. The sun blazed even hotter after lunch, and the heat waves rose off the asphalt. The workers protested that it was too hot to work. The foreman was jealous and spiteful of the brash attitudes of their workers. However, he agreed it was too hot to work. The foreman ordered his workers to take a breath. No progress of being made anyways. And if a worker happened to get heat stroke, it would just make matters worse. Everyone found a spot in the shade and slept soundly. And then something happened while everyone was deep in sleep. A loud cracking sound echoed around the campus. It sounded like the scaffolding had crashed through the safety net. Still drowsing from their naps, the workers paid no attention to it and went back to sleep. It was a different matter for the foreman. If there were indeed a problem with the safety net, it would be his responsibility. He yelled at his workers to check out the safety net, but they pretended like they didn't hear him. Annoyed, the foreman realized that he had to check it himself. The workers, who were debating whether to get up or not, were glad that the foreman had left without them. Suddenly, the foreman yelled, then was cut off, leaving an eerie silence. The workers jumped up and rushed to the foreman. The foreman was frozen in shock, staring at a terrible sight. There was a scaffolding that had fallen through the safety net. Was the dead body of a woman. The woman's corpse had no head. The foremen and the workers instantly recognized the dead woman as someone who worked in a local restaurant. From the chopped stump of her neck, dark red blood was spewing out, soaking into the ground. The foreman and the workers kept their mouths shut and moved quickly. It was the first time they had worked together harmoniously. Despite searching everywhere, they could not find the missing head in the end. They buried the body in cement and sent it to a wasteful facility. It seemed like they did a perfect job covering up what had happened. No one would ever know what happened aside from themselves. For some reason, though, strange accidents kept on happening after the incident. Workers were injured much more frequently than before. This slowed the progress of construction, and a rumor spread among the workers that there was a ghost at the site. The foreman fumed with anger and ordered his men to keep their mouths shut. Then, a pulley fell from the fourth floor and crushed a worker in the head, while his body was mangled by the pulley. His head was strangely unharmed. The foreman became terrified and decided to turn himself into the police. Then, rumors persisted that a floating head could sometimes be seen. Eventually, the construction worker was completed despite the slow progress. When the school reopened after summer break, they were shocked to find a dead woman's head in the garden. They say that the head looked as if it had just been cut off the body, despite the fact that it had been out of the heat of the summer for weeks. She's about to jump out. She's about to... Fuck. I hate that, man. Oh yeah, I forgot! Are there pictures? It seems other pieces are needed to make a whole picture. Oh, I gotta look for the pictures! Competitive spirit. Kyung-hee's father passed away when she was young, so her family struggled with money. Her family expected her to go to a vocational high school and start making money as soon as possible. Kyung-hee, however, had a different idea. To her, studying hard and getting into good college was the only chance they had to escape poverty. So against her family wishes, she decided to attend a regular high school. In high school, Kyung-hee stayed true to her goal for studying hard. Her grades were so excellent that she became one of the top students in her prestigious Y High School. For her, however, it was not enough. No matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't beat the student in first place. The number one student was a cheerful girl named Se-yeon. She had always been popular because of her smart and kind nature. It was said her father was top of the government official. Maybe that explained how So-yeon could be so confident and positive all the time. Kyung had never once seen her study. She only ever saw her laughing with her friends. In spite of this, Se-yeon always had better grades than her. When does she study? Kyung-hee wondered. She decided that Se-yeon must be getting very expensive private tutoring. Kyung-hee chewed on her nails of anxiety. She felt as if her family would be doomed to live in poverty forever if she didn't figure out the way to beat Se-young and become the top student. So she threw herself into her studies more even before. She hardly slept and studied so hard that she felt like her eyes could bore a hole through her textbooks. As time passed, dark circles formed under her eyes. Finally, the exam that she had prepared for so much was over. All her classmates complained that the exam was too difficult. She sat back in her chair and smiled, believing that she had aced it. I finally beat her this time. Kyung-hee closed her eyes and could already imagine Soo-yeon's tearful face. At last, the day they received their report cards came. The room filled with varying reactions to the report cards. Some were crying, some were relieved, and some just didn't care. Kyung-hee looked at her report card with confidence. Then, her face twisted and shocked. Second place. On the report card, it was written that she scored second best again. She turned to Se-yeon and saw her smiling brightly with her friends. She had lost her again. Kyung-hee was so stunned after this that she could not focus during any of her classes. Only one thing filled her mind, and that was Se-yeon. How the hell could she beat me every time? It must be very expensive private studies. But I don't have that kind of luxury. This means I could never beat her. It's over now. We'll just have to live in poverty forever. Kyung-hee, from the trauma of her stress, developed a mental disorder and ended up killing herself. A rumor spread after her death that a ghost had begun to appear in the library. It is said that if you remain in the library to study until midnight, a girl will glare at you with her chin resting on her hands before suddenly disappearing. Okay, so after like minutes, like, oh my gosh, felt like hours of like just searching and like going through stuff, I finally found that the light, like our lighter, is what's the UV light. I thought we actually had to look for a UV light. That's why I didn't even try anything in here, but this is what it is. Now, here's the unfortunate thing is I do not get this at all. Not even with the characters right there. I just do not understand this. Okay, guys, so I had to look it up because I could not figure it out. Because judging by this note, it says that it was in that room. So the student department, the one that was on the chalkboard, that is the code for this room. But I cannot read that language. I understand that the numbers are right there to the right, but I couldn't figure it out. I'm sorry, I couldn't. So I had to look up what the code was. Apparently the code is 2A 41. There we go. That was loud. Okay. Water disconnection report. The water to the main building has been disconnected due to the undetermined reason. However, a single sink in the science lab on the 3rd floor of the main building 2 still has running water. The students seem to find this disturbing. A major repair will be conducted to rectify our current water problem. Okay. Did something just pop up? Nothing? Principal document. Jim Won Kim was born 22 January 1970. Special notes, he committed suicide on the school grounds in 2000. Jeez, no family or friends appeared after the death. Seemed antisocial and exhibited eccentric behavior from the start. Created and spread rumors about the conspiracies in the school. Showed some signs of paranoia. Installed a lock on the music supply room for his exclusive use and would hide a piano chair key so nobody else could find it. He was being closely monitored around the time of his death. Possibility of a murder cannot be ruled out, but given the weight of the evidence found, it is most likely that he committed suicide. Name, homeroom 11, female. A top student during her first 2 years, but her grades began to fall when she entered her 3rd. This caused her grade slipping was not found. She did not appear to have any issues at school or home. She was found dead in the school. Lacking any evidence of murder, her death was ruled suicide by hanging. Known. A delusional woman who began wandering around the school 2 or 3 years ago. Will sometimes trespass onto school grounds, but does not show any concerning behavior. She may be involved with the accident 3 years ago, but there's no evidence linking to her. Exhibits particular sensitivity to alarms, fire, and security. They cause her to have seizures. What are they talking about exactly? A wooden handle. A handle made of wood. It looks like it can be filtered to use something to unlock a place you couldn't open before. Oh! Wait. Do you think this has to do with the drawer in main building 1? I don't know. Locked with a device. It's locked with a device. What device? That doesn't help me. Oh, what was that? Oh! Oh, hang on. So they're just all blobs that way. Okay. Videotape. Found in the principal's office. It had no label. I don't know where I'd watch. Oh! Well, that answered my question. We need to find that chair. Shit. Yes! Boys kills girl. G. A new transfer student to Y High School. Had recently heard a horror story about the school from a classmate. So of course, of all the nights the night he had to come back to school to grab something he left was a stormy night. The quiet pouring of the rain reminded him too much of the scary story. Only few years before, there was a student named Ji-hee. She was dating a boy named Myung-ho, who shared the same homeroom with her during the first 2 years of school. When they were in the senior year, they were assigned to different homerooms, and Ji-hee began dating Ho-young, who was in the same homeroom as her. Myung-ho could not accept such sudden breakup after dating Ji-hee for 2 years. He tried multiple times to go see her and plead his case, but Ji-hee completely ignored him. Growing more resentful with each rejection, Myung-ho began to hate Ji-hee. One day, Myung-ho decided to go see Ji-hee one last time in her homeroom. The rain keeps cutting in and out during lunch break. Ji-hee, just like all the times before, was cold and cruel and ignored his pleas. Enraged, Myung-ho took out his knife he had brought with him, of course. He wasn't planning on hurting her. He wanted to mend his wounded Ingo by watching her tremble, seeing her finally acknowledge him. However, Ji-hee knew him all too well. She knew that even though he acted though, he just was a narrow-minded, scared little boy. Seeing his desperate attempt with the knife made so repulsive that she became angry at him. She called him names and taunted that would never have the guts to actually use the knife. Alas, her taunting worked. Myung-ho, momentarily blinded by rage, swung his knife and stabbed Ji-hee. Ji-hee fell to the ground, her blood running across the entire floor. Myung-ho, scared and confused by the scene, went berserk. Due to Myung-ho slashing his knife crazily around, no one dared to go near Ji-hee. They could only watch from afar as she bled out. Since that day, there is said to have been sightings of a female ghost lying down on the floor as if asleep. Ji-saw tried to block this story from his mind when he reached the classroom. When he opened the door, though, his efforts were in vain. When he tripped, falling backwards in terror, he saw a girl lying on the ground in the dark, like as if she was fast asleep. Faculty office 2. Okay guys, I'm gonna end it there. We actually got I guess, pretty far. It took me a long time to figure that out, and I'm really sorry I had to cheat a little bit to get into that room. I just could not figure it out. And I'm also, again, I apologize for all the names I messed up doing these notes. I mean, no offense by it. I really just don't know how to pronounce it correctly. I hope you guys are enjoying this and continue watching in the next episode. If you want to check out my other stuff, go on my profile and check out other things. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!